Yo, 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 welcome back everyone to the Anything and Everything podcast, where today we are once again having on our great friend, Big Tim, aka the Dinosaur Man, and we're talking Star Wars sequels, what they could have been, what they were, what we wanted them to be, everything along the lines. So tell them what's up, my friend.
Hey, welcome. Thanks for having me back, Jason. I greatly appreciate you bringing me back to the podcast. It's always good to talk Star Wars, you know what I mean? It's always a great day we can discuss the greatest franchise of all time.
Dude, I love it so much. It's like in my veins, it's coursing through me day in and day out. And I love talking it, man. I really do. Oh, man.
Yeah, it brings out, the happy, positive feelings in a COVID world,
COVID filled.
yeah, COVID filled world where we can sit here and just discuss what we love. And that's what gets you through my day wholeheartedly.
All right, guys. So if you are watching this on YouTube, or I don't know if it'll let me, but put video on Spotify, we do have some images we're going to be playing throughout this video. I pulled all of these images from the Star Wars Reddit, and they are concept art of Episode 9. So if you enjoy the images, go ahead and check out the Star Wars Reddit. It is a awesome place to see all the coolest stuff.
Oh, what could have been?
Yeah,
What could have been?
And you will see in these images throughout this episode, there was a lot of really good images of what could have happened in the sequels, dude. Ugh.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly have to agree because, like, looking at some of these images you have in front of me here, I mean, just wow. I mean, some of the artwork's stunning. And, in Lucasfilms and Disney, they could have pulled this off. I mean, they have the best VFX team in the in the entire world working on their stuff.
I mean, not only that, dude, you just have so much lore to pull from and a plethora of content already made that's been made and deemed legends that is so great that you can just pull ideas from. Maybe not take it like one to one, but so many ideas you can pull from.
Yeah, that's what makes that's what make franchises like Star Wars and Jurassic Park so amazing, is that there's so many concepts, so many different directions you could go. I mean, it's truly limitless. I mean, there's so many more stories in the galaxy than just the Skywalker saga. And there's so many different things that you could have introduced from Legends that would have made the sequel trilogy so much more interesting.
Yeah, dude, it's really it's kind of a shame that we didn't get some of this stuff that you see that you're gonna see on the screen that we're gonna talk about today, because the original idea of George's sequels were really really great, and the ideas that even some of the other directors had that they just kind of shot down or tucked away, and then some of the artists who drew not only this imagery but like even the original concepts by Ralph McQuarrie back in the day were awesome, and it was just like, man, like some of these ideas, it sucks they never got used.
No, definitely, I have to agree. I mean, some of the some of these images are just absolutely stunning. I mean, there's so much they could have done. They could have went in so many different directions.
Yeah.
I mean, if you've heard our prior two episodes about Star Wars, you know me. I hate the sequel trilogy. I hate everything about it, and I will give you my reasons right now. Okay, episode 7. Okay, might as well just call it A New Hope.
New Hope 2.0, a little bit, yeah.
No, literally. Okay, rescue mission.
Death Star.
Literally Death Star 3 at this point. Old characters making a return. Like, you couldn't have, like, and me and you hinted at this on the last podcast. We were so hyped when we first saw Force Awakens, and then we heard the map to Skywalker. And like I said, if you play back our last podcast, we talked about this really early on, and that's kind of why we're so disappointed, is that we could have gone as many different ways as possible, but we still decided to go with the Skywalker saga. Why?
And like, I don't even hate the idea of Luke and Han and Leia and Chewie and R2 and C3 all being in the movie. I just think that they executed very poorly the ideas that they had. Like, if you were gonna bring Luke in and you're gonna tell a story about after the Empire and after he defeated Sidious and Palpatine, why are you not taking the chance to show a new Jedi Order and all the cool things around it? I mean, we had, what, 3-4 shots the entire sequel trilogy of his order, and it was up in flames. That's all we ever got of it. And some really beautiful imagery when he touches R2 kind of on the top of the dome of his, of his body, and he kind of looks up at the burning temple, but it's like, that's great imagery, but that's the only time we see it, so the emotional impact doesn't really hit as much. Whereas if in 7, they're building up the Jedi Order, and they're building up the idea of it, or in 8, maybe they build it up, and then in 9, they show how it fell, and then that imagery now hits a lot harder than just showing what they showed.
Yeah, I mean, everyone talks about, and especially in the prequels, and then obviously the second trilogy, the original trilogy, so to speak. Like, what hits so hard for us is, at least in terms of like Anakin, like we saw what Anakin came from, and then we saw what he became. That's why his fall in Episode 3 was so just detrimental to
and impactful.
Yes, exactly, and we never got that. We got just images of burning huts and an upset Luke. But that I was kind of like, oh, that's cool, but like I don't feel anything there.
Yeah, not at all. I mean, not at all. And I think now that we're getting Mandalorian and we're getting kind of Boba Fett and we're getting kind of starting to see a little bit of that in between. Maybe in 10 years, once we have all the content that fills in between, maybe we go back and go, holy shit, they were onto something.
Exactly, and that's the kind of content I was looking for between Episodes 3 and Episodes 4. Sure, Rogue One does a little bit, and so does Obi-Wan, but like I need more.
Yeah.
Whereas there's such a substantial gap between Episode 6 and Episode 7. Like I want that content. Sure, you get a little bit of that content in Rebels, but like just a little bit. You get a little bit of that content in Battlefront 2 with, Inferno Squad and Operation Cinder.
Yeah.
But it's only a few years of content.
Yeah, and then you even in I think it's Resistance or Forces of Destiny, one of the two, both canon. Don't really love either one. They tried to do a new style animated show. It flopped, in my opinion. I think Resistance really flopped. It wasn't very good. I don't think you've ever seen it.
Never even heard of it.
Yeah.
And that's how you know it was bad.
it flopped. It was not. It was trying to live up to what Rebels was and what Clone Wars was, and it flopped on its face because it failed to build characters like the Clone Wars had branched off of the original trilogy or the prequel trilogy characters, and it failed to live up to what Rebels was able to do with an original cast. And it really, it just kind of flopped. Like, I tried to get into it the first couple episodes, just couldn't. It was just not hitting the same and not doing for me what Rebels did for me. And I watched them roughly around the same time. As soon as I finished Rebels, I'm like, I need more Star Wars. And I looked for it in Resistance, and it really just turned me off to the show. I didn't want to watch it anymore.
Yeah, no, I get that 100%. And, like, you think, like... So what was the time gap between 6 and 7? What, 20 years?
6 and 7, I believe it was like 19 years, 19 or 20 years.
Like 19 years, yeah. Like,
so again, 2 decades of content you could fill up.
Like if you don't, if like the, and like how many people really know about the Battle of Jakku?
Nobody knew about it until they said it.
Because the Battle of Jakku,
like one time.
Yeah, the Battle of Jakku actually sets up the sequel trilogy.
Yeah.
Because that's when, Rex takes... No, I'm sorry, not Rex. You know who I'm talking... Hex.
Yeah, Hux.
Yeah, Hux, thank you. Hux takes his entire... What's left of the Empire, goes into deep galaxy, and reforms and forms the First Order.
The First Order, yeah.
So, and like, not many people knew about that. So people were coming out like, yo, what's the First Order? Like, where did this come from?
Yeah, and it was kind of like... It just seemed like, oh, another Empire. Here it is. Like, you know what I mean? It was really, really... poorly explained and not really shown well how it kind of happened or anything like that. I think a lot of things were poorly executed in the sequel trilogy. I think Episode 7, being what it was, it could have stayed exactly the way it was, and you still could have had a great trilogy from 8 and 9. But everything that Episode 7 did right, Episode 8 destroyed it. I thought the lightsaber fighting was okay in Episode 7. I thought it wasn't great, It wasn't prequels, obviously. We're never gonna get that. But it was okay. And then episode 8, I don't even know what to say. The choreographing is just terrible. More specifically, the scene in the throne room. It's like you got guys just literally just standing there, falling over at nothing. And there was no like attempt at like trying to make it look like one of them force pushed anybody. They just fell over.
Yeah, I mean, if you
Just poorly executed, honestly.
episode 8 is like the redheaded stepchild of Star Wars.
Worse than that.
I mean, you lock it in the closet or in the basement, you bolt the thing shut, and you fill it with cement.
Yeah, you do to episode 8 what Harry's aunt and uncle did to him in Harry Potter. You put him under the stairs, you give him a tiny room, you hate him, you bully him. It's a terrible Star Wars movie. The only good thing that movie did was visuals. And that ends right there.
When I rewatched the sequel trilogy, I actually just skipped episode 8. I went from 7 to 9.
And you can do that, and you won't miss anything.
No, nothing
because they
relevant.
bridge well.
Nothing relevant happens in episode 8 except they kill Snoke. But let's be honest, Snoke wasn't a relevant character to begin with.
Because let's
be honest,
was a poor attempt at a villain.
Well, because Palpatine made the Force bridge between Rey and Kylo.
Yeah, the dyad. Yeah.
They that wasn't Snoke. Everything was Palpatine. Everything.
Yeah. And he was just a poorly executed villain. Like they could have done something really cool with him. Like they could have, and this is my personal concept, they could have had Snoke be Plagueis, who was hiding in the shadows and waiting until Palpatine died. Like you could have had that story. You could have. I remember all the theories after Force Awakens came out that Snoke was Plagueis, and I was foaming at the mouth for it to happen. And then they just kill him in episode 8. And then they say, oh, well, Palpatine returned and it was him the whole time. And you're just like, what the fuck?
You should have seen my face when I watched the episode 9 trailer. And I heard Palpatine's laugh, and I'm like, what the fuck?
Dude, at the end, when the title screen pops up and you hear him laugh, and you're just like, are they really doing this right now? Like, it was such a disappointing moment. My heart sank, and I'm like, no way they're doing this. Like, there's no way. They can't be. And then they did.
I'm not sure if you guys heard that giant sigh there, but, like, there's just, like, episode 7, episode 8, episode 9, the visuals absolutely fantastic. The storytelling in episode 7 was copycatted. Let's be honest, it was copycat. But New Hope was so good that I didn't care they copycatted it because it was still good.
Yeah, the only thing they did different was just add a little more action. Like, episode 4 didn't have a lot of action. They took a No Hope and added a couple more action scenes, and then just said, oh yeah, let's just repaste it.
Yeah, they were like, how do we make the Death Star bigger? And they came up with the Starkiller base.
And that's... Dude... I can't even... My brain just stopped working. I don't even know what to say, dude. It's just so disappointing.
I mean, let's be honest, though. Starkiller base was honestly an awesome concept. Like, a planet...
Ilum, the Jedi's planet for kyber crystals, turned into a weapon.
Yes.
It's a great concept.
Fantastic concept.
If they showed how it got done, if they...
Yeah, all you know is that you see this giant planet that shoots a laser beam that devastates half the galaxy in 2.5 seconds.
Yeah, it's definitely a disappointing moment when you don't get to see how it happens.
Yeah, like if you gave me like a sequel trilogy version of Rogue One, where we see maybe the aftermath of the Battle of Jakku, or Hux getting away with the Imperial remnants, maybe the beginning of the formation of Starkiller Base. Okay, now you have added context to the sequel trilogy. Now, modern Star Wars fans and old Star Wars fans are going, what the fuck happened between 4, 5, and 6, and 7, 8, 9?
Yeah.
Like, if they want to keep that sequel trilogy canon, they need to do that.
They need to find a way to bridge the gap. And the way episode 7 should have started, that those opening scenes should have showed the Battle of Jakku, Should have showed Hux getting away, Starkiller Base being formed, and all that, and then give us, you know, I don't even care if they do the cliche 19 years later thing. Give us that. Whatever. It works.
Yeah, you know, as you mentioned in my intro, the Dinosaur Man, I have to throw a reference to Jurassic Park out there. I'm not sure if you've seen Dominion yet.
I have not, but it's okay.
So the prelude to Dominion was a 5-minute battle scene between the big baddie, which is the Giganotosaurus, and everyone's favorite dinosaur, T-Rex, Rexy, we call her in the dino community. Okay, we saw a prelude which happened 65 million years ago, which the Giganotosaurus easily killed the T-Rex.
Yeah. Which
is why the fight scenes between the Giganotosaurus and T-Rex later in the movie were more impactful, right?
There's context.
There's context. So I think that if they would have done maybe the Battle of Jakku at the beginning of Episode 7, or just some kind of like,
just something that shows us why this is important to the story.
Yeah, like 2 years after the Death Star, this happened. Because I think it was 2 years after the Death Star, second Death Star got destroyed, it happened. So
just anything that added that context would have helped that story progress to a good spot. And they just failed, I feel like, in every way to do that. And it was really, really upsetting. But right now, guys, we're actually going to take a quick ad break, and we will be right back after a word from our sponsor. All right, guys, and we are back from our ad break. So today, or right now, we're going to talk about... Why is my mic so loud? What the hell? We're going to talk about this image here that you see on our screen. Now, I don't know if that's supposed to be Phasma or if it's just a random First Order Trooper. I don't really care. This is a cool-ass image that should have been shown in Episode 7. At the very beginning, established that the First Order is very ruthless. And, show, you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I can definitely see what... It's just, to give you guys kind of an example of what we're looking at here. You have, looks like a stage, kind of like something you would see in, like, Pirates of the Caribbean with the guillotine. You have, looks like Captain Phasma, or just a regular, like, leader stormtrooper to the left here. Or First Order Trooper, so to speak. And you have looks like a Resistance pilot laying down on a lightsaber guillotine. It's actually a really cool concept with him kind of looking out at the crowd. He's on his stomach, kind of staring out to the crowd, which you could do a lot here. If you guys ever seen the Pirates of the Caribbean franchise, you know you have episode not episode. Let me say an episode. You have the third movie, At World's End, where everyone's being charged with piracy or supporting pirates, and everyone's marching out to essentially face the guillotine. And I think that's kind of where you could show kind of copy that concept, but not necessarily, where you could see the beginning of the second phase of the Resistance. If you're catching what I'm drifting here.
Yeah. This is just such a great image. And if you see at the bottom, you can see it was posted in the Star Wars Reddit by Wendigo72. These images all came from this person, I believe. But you just see a really, really great imagery that shows they are ruthless and they are willing to show the public what they're about. You know what I mean? They're willing to show, like, we are the shit and we're not messing around here. And just such great imagery here. Like, the guillotine is just awesome. It's a little lightsaber guillotine. It's just dope. And this is obviously a New Republic pilot.
Yeah.
And
he's got the classic orange jumpsuit and the white vest.
It would just show so much what they're about and why they're not, like, going to stop. It's so cool. All right, guys. So moving on to our second image here. You see another great image, and I don't know where this would be. I guess it could be maybe Luke's, fallen Jedi temple or something. This is kind of end of Episode 7, maybe Episode 8, beginning. Just showing how she's training with him, and I think this is much better than what we got. Honestly, it's kind of similar with him. Her kind of sitting there meditating and him being over here, but it would allow her to kind of have her own spotlight. And allow him to be in the background, kind of guiding her through the meditation, how the Jedi did this. And just, honestly, just super cool imagery in the background here. As you can see, the circles, the water, the little thing that she's on. the sun coming through the top. It's really, really.
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
can't leave this alone. I'm sorry,
it-
guys. I don't know if you can hear it. I don't think you can.
It
But
kind of reminds me of kind of the prequel trilogy
yeah.
where you have
Meditation chambers.
no, like the imagery is symbolic in itself. You you have
Over there. Is he dying?
no, she's got a cold. She's got a little cough. It kind of reminds me of how Sidious was in the background, how Palpatine was in the background, kind of manipulating events. And he had, Darth Maul in the spot. Not really Darth Maul or Anakin in the spotlight. More like the Separatist movement, the droids. They were the spotlight
Yeah.
in the prequel trilogy.
And the Sith were kind of lurking in the background.
Yeah, like kind of lurking in the background. That kind of reminds me of like symbolism from like the first three.
Yeah.
Which I think is pretty cool. But in reality, like this is how it should have gone down. Luke should have trained her in secret. After
kind of reverse of what happened with Sith Empire rising up.
yeah, exactly. Which I think would have been really cool, kind of something that we wanted to see. But let's be honest, the sequel trilogy portrayed Rey really getting absolutely no training and just being naturally gifted with the lightsaber, naturally gifted with the Force. Like at the end of Episode 7, she whooped Kylo's ass, and he's been training for how long at that point?
Yeah, I mean, he had little cuts and bruises and stuff, from Finn, but I don't know if that would really be enough to take him out of the fight. I mean, we've seen people get, cut and bruised up before, and they keep fighting. Like, it seems like a really, I don't know, it just seems like a poor excuse to say he lost. He's been training with Luke for half his life.
Exactly, and Kylo got whooped in about it wasn't even like a 2-minute fight.
Yeah, it was. And it's sad to say that's one of the best fights in the trilogy.
Oh, this is true. It was one of the best fights in the trilogy.
And it was still lackluster.
It's just a shame that with no explanation, this random girl from Jakku all of a sudden just beats a master of the not a master of the Sith, but like a strong Sith apprentice who has natural ties to some of the strongest Jedi and Sith known to history. Kylo Ren has family ties, obviously Anakin. Family ties to Luke Skywalker, Leia. Some of the most powerful, Force users and some of the best swordsmen the galaxy's ever seen. And he gets whooped by a farm girl from Jakku?
Yeah,
come on, man.
Who is somehow Palpatine's granddaughter of some kind.
Listen, who's giving Palpatine head?
That plot,
you know what I mean?
That plot to me was very that's for a later topic. Let's just move right to the next image because.
So you're seeing the crew here. It looks like we have Chewie, Poe Dameron, Rey, R2. I'm sorry, R2. Is that BB-8 or R2? I can't tell.
That's actually not a droid. I looked closely and zoomed in. That's actually a person, and then Finn. So there's one random person here who we don't know. Could have been a concept of it's a character just didn't use or something. But
yeah,
I think you could have thrown any. You could put Ezra here if you want.
But
put whoever you want.
There's some things from Episode 7 I want to incorporate. One of them being the death of Han Solo. Because let's be honest, Harrison Ford wanted nothing to do with this franchise after 4, 5, and 6. So
after 4 and 5.
Yeah, seriously. So the death of Han Solo was absolutely necessary, as much as I hate to say it, because he was one of my favorite characters growing up.
Yeah.
So this could be like imagery at the beginning of Episode 8, at the end of Episode 7, Han Solo dies to Kylo Ren. Kind of just bonding and getting over the loss of Han. Because let's be honest, Chewbacca and Han Solo were everything to each other after they discovered each other after the events of Solo. So, that'll be a really powerful imagery. Really create a bonding experience and make their kind of, their emotional connection later in the franchise much more important.
Yeah, especially with the way that like Chewie kind of runs with Rey and they kind of pilot the Falcon together. It would definitely show them show how they kind of got so close, and kind of that was the one thing about the trilogy I think that I never really thought about, but now that we talk about it, it makes sense. That crew, the chemistry was not there. As much as they tried to force it, The chemistry was not there, not because of the actors, but because the plot didn't show it. The plot never showed us why does Finn care so much about Rey? Why does Poe and Finn, why are they such best friends? It never really explained incredibly well why they were so close, and it made everything kind of feel forced.
Yeah, you see Han Solo and Chewbacca bonding, right? And not only in Solo, but they're already an established duo by Episode 4.
Yeah, when you first see them.
Han Solo and Leia have 3 movies together where they got to bond and click. And they went through these crazy experiences: the destruction of the first Death Star, the events of Empire Strikes Back, the Battle of Hoth, the finding out that they're siblings, and Han has feelings for Leia, and then the Return of the Jedi, where Leia and Han are almost killed and captured, and Luke is almost captured
multiple times,
rescuing Han from Jabba's palace.
Mm-hmm.
The whole incident with the Rancor pit. I mean, there was so much to base their relationship on and their bondage on, which was great. But let's be honest, 7, 8, and 9 were just a bunch of Solo stories.
They felt very disconnected.
Exactly. You
felt like the same characters just thrown in there.
Yeah, you saw it was mostly Rey, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then you have a little bit of Poe Dameron. Then you have a little bit of Finn.
Yeah.
And then they try to branch out, have their own stories. Like at the end of Episode 8, when Finn had that love story with Rose. With Rose.
Yeah, that was bad.
Which was weird. And then all of a sudden in Episode 9, Poe and Finn are kind of bromancing a little bit.
And Finn, but Finn's also oh my God, Rey, I love you, and it's what the hell is going on right now, dude?
Yeah, it's really just disconnected, which is kind of what made everything feel off. And we can't even say that Han and Leia and Luke had more time. They had 3 movies, just like the other. I think the problem is that they tried to throw too much of 4, 5, and 6 into 7, 8, and 9.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't get enough character development.
Not at all.
And
it's one thing that shows up in Rebels. When you first start watching Rebels, the Ghost crew, the 4 original members, Zeb, Kanan, Hera, and Sabine, they are 4 characters from 4 different parts of basically the galaxy. And you first see them, they're already a crew. But it doesn't feel disconnected. They're brand new characters at that point. Brand spanking new at the very beginning of that show. And you already feel when in those first couple episodes, you get the understanding that, okay, these characters have a backstory. They flesh it out slowly, but at the same time, it's probably about the same amount of screen time in that first season as 7, 8, and 9. And by the end of the first season, you're in love with these characters, because they did such a good job of showing that at the very beginning of the series, they are established. And that's one thing that Dave Filoni did so well on that show. He also did Clone Wars as well. He learned so much from George of how to create a character, give the character depth at the very beginning, and slowly break down that depth throughout the series and kind of go through what makes them such a great character. And the sequel trilogy really failed at that. They tried to build a lot on nostalgia, and a lot of times when they did that, it also kind of flopped.
You get you said he directed Clone Wars. Look at Ahsoka, Obi-Wan, and Anakin.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they were inseparable in Clone Wars. So and they, one of them was always on the screen, just about
almost
every
always
episode.
Yeah,
every time.
And then throw Rex in there too. Rex, with the addition of Rex to that crew, they're almost always on the screen.
But let's talk about episodes 1, 2, and 3. Right, you had the same 5 characters repeating at any given time to create character development. You had Padme, Anakin, Obi-Wan, Palpatine, and then your choice of 5th person, where they really develop their character.
Yeah.
They continue that I guess the episode 1, 2, and 3 still that concept 4, 5, and 6.
Yeah.
Where they developed on small base characters. They developed Luke, Leia, Darth Vader, Han, Chewie,
I guess.
And Chewie's a stretch.
Yeah,
at
Chewie's a stretch. R2 is probably
another stretch.
The next one.
Now, R2's a stretch too, and so is C-3PO.
Yeah.
They developed Luke, Leia, Han, and Darth Vader.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Now, who did they try to develop in 7, 8, and 9? Luke, Snoke, Leia, Rey, Finn, Poe, Chewie, Hux.
Kylo Ren.
Kylo Ren, Palpatine in the episode 8 and 9. I mean, like they tried to do too much.
Yeah, the cast was too big. Not too big because you can have characters be side characters, but it was too much for that film to accomplish with the writing they had.
Yeah, and like now, like let's be honest, you could have turned 7, 8, 9 into 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 with how much content you probably could have put in there.
Yeah,
easily.
When you look at these concepts, in addition to what they did, in addition to the concepts that were originally written by George, and you could have made fucking 3 or 4 trilogies with that.
And it would have been better than the product that we got.
And it probably would have. And George says it best. It takes 10 years to make a proper trilogy. It took him 10 years to do the first one. He started writing it in like 73. The last movie came out in 83. The prequels, he started writing in like 95, 96, something like that.
Ended in 2005.
Ended in 2005. This one, they started writing, I think it was like 13. It ended in 19. That's 6 years. Like there's a 4-year gap where you could have still been making content. Obviously, COVID would have slowed it up or whatever, and that's fine. That probably would have been a good thing. It could have also been a bad thing. They could have been overthinking everything. But it would have given them time to make a proper product, write and flesh out the story. But it just felt like they were flying by you know, like
too
bad.
much time went by, and not enough pre-character development happened.
Yeah.
Like we had so much to work off of already that made it easier to, you know, form these connections and really enjoy the characters. And I think that's why everyone really fell in love with 4, 5, and 6 and 1, 2, and 3. Because after the sequel trilogy came out, everyone started to love 1, 2, and 3. You know, it's honestly a meme in the Star Wars community at this point.
It's a meme, but it's also kind of taken as the truth. Even the cast knows it. They even said when filming Obi-Wan that they didn't feel the love back in the day. And that might have been because the older generation was the only one who was able to kind of speak about it in the newspapers and stuff like that. Internet wasn't huge back then, like it is now. And so the younger audience couldn't get their kind of views out. But when the sequel trilogy came out, a lot of that older generation saw that movie and said, "Holy shit, that sucks. I like the prequels."
And this isn't Star Wars. And that's why The Mandalorian was such a breath of fresh air.
Because it was completely new.
It was completely new.
You saw, in the first season, the only characters who were, like, the same were the Stormtroopers, I think. You might have seen 1 or 2 small cameos.
And if you watched some of the other stuff, you knew who Moff Gideon was. But outside of that, you know, people are like, who's Moff Gideon?
Yeah. Yeah, I think it was just really, like, there was so many missed opportunities in this trilogy. Missed opportunities in this trilogy.
This was a absolute, sorry to interrupt, but this was an absolute missed opportunity.
This visual is just, oh my god. I can imagine the theater, the orchestral music playing, blasting in my ear, the 90 billion inch screen showing me the Falcon being pulled out of the water.
Mm-hmm.
And Luke, Luke overseeing her doing this, just being like, "Wow, like this is awesome." And like, dude,
and here's the thing: you could have went a million different ways with this scene alone. You could have been like, "Okay, the Falcon crashed here on this frozen planet
for some reason."
You
could have put this in episode 7.
Yeah, exactly. You could put this in episode 7, where
at the end,
you know, Rey is pulling the Falcon out of the ground, or you know, as a training exercise when, you know, she's looking for something, it crashes to find Luke, and now she's trying to pull it out of the ice. It's similar to what he went through on Dagobah.
Yeah.
You
and they kind of hinted at this in, I don't know if I think it was 8, where she looks down at the X-Wing in the water, and eventually Luke takes it out to kind of pulls it out with the Force to give it to her. He should have made her do that. He should have done his Yoda moment, forced her to pull it out, and kind of shown her that she has the capability to do so.
Could you imagine Luke running around on Rey's back?
Dude, that would be fucking hilarious. They actually took a picture like that and post on Instagram.
I would be tearing up, honestly. It'd be hilarious.
This just imagery would have been so sick. Even if it was just an X-Wing, it would have been so cool to see her do this. But the Falcon, with it being her ship now that Han's dead, and maybe for some reason it crashed. You know, maybe Luke wasn't on the planet he was on. Maybe he was on a different planet, and it was kind of rough conditions like Dagobah, and they crashed on the way in. And then after her original training in episode 8, at the end of episode 8, she lifts the Falcon out of the, whatever, swamp, jungle, whatever you want it to be, water, ice, whatever. This image is just beautiful, and I really wish they would have went this route.
And here's the thing, right? If you look at episode 7, they had no problem recycling content, okay? And this probably would have been the best thing to recycle out of this 4, 5, and 6. This moment right here. It would have been absolutely stunning to see on screen.
It would have. It's just so cool. They're just... And, like, there's more books and stuff like that, and images that float around out there, and concepts that we could have pulled. I just had these images, like, ready to go on hand. I'm sure we'll come back eventually to talk about this again. Because we will find more concept art that we want to talk about. And this is just so cool. Like... I don't even know. It's just something about this image is just really kind of gives you chills to think about what you would have seen on screen and the cheers you would have heard in the theater. It's amazing. But before we slide on to the next image, guys, I actually want to take a second ad break here, and we'll be right back after we hear a word from our sponsor. All right, guys, and we are back here from our ad break. And this image, starting off, dude, so much to say. Like, from the sun peering through the dark clouds, the statues, the broken pyramid, the ripped cape, the ruins below, so much to dive into and to speculate on.
Now, here's what I see here, right? Okay. This is me personally. Okay, I see a Kylo Ren, beginning of episode 9, just had an epic battle with Rey at the end of episode 8, where if they follow any sort of sequence, it's bad guys win first, or good guys win 1, bad guys win 2, good guys win 3. Okay.
Yeah.
So we're gonna assume that Rey got her ass beat. Okay, in episode 8 at the end of this battle. Okay.
Yeah.
So now beginning of episode 9, Kylo hops in his TIE fighter, and he goes and finds Exegol, right?
Exegol. I don't even care if it wasn't even Exegol. I don't care if it's even Malachor here, because this, if you watch Rebels, this gives you a huge Malachor vibes
Fair
with
enough.
the pyramid. Because at the end of season 2 in Rebels, they blow up the pyramid thing, and it looks just like this when Vader and Ahsoka walk away from it. And I think it would be really dope to revisit that planet in live action, because that planet was really cool. It was the place of a huge battle between the Sith and the Jedi way back in the old Republic days or whatever. And I think it would just be really cool to see it in live action here, especially with like the statues, because it was a Sith planet.
Yeah,
it would just be so cool to see. Like, but I agree with you. I think this is a battered and broken Kylo Ren.
Yeah, after he won against Rey in episode 8, but barely.
I think this is an emotionally battered and broken
so,
Kylo.
He takes his Sith holocron, he makes it Exegol, or wherever else he wants to go, and he's going to try to find answers at the Sith Temple, okay, or whatever I'm looking at here. And the imagery is just so powerful. It's a dark planet, it's this Sith planet. You have the statues in the background, this shattered pyramid. Who probably was a main place of battle during the battle, the War of the Sith. Way back,
thousands of years before.
Thousands of years before Kylo Ren was even thought about. But you could do so much here, and I think that that would be just a powerful starting point.
Yeah, it would really start off episode 9 with something dark, mysterious. Kind of thinking, oh shit, maybe he is gonna like prevail and like do something big here. It doesn't follow what I think of how the sequel should have went. I think Kylo should have went to the light side, and Rey should have went to the dark side throughout the trilogy. And at some point, they kind of make that switch.
Now, I agree, but I only agree
because of what we got.
Based off of what we got.
Yeah. That's why I think that. But
yeah, like
if we're following a completely new story, this would be an incredible way to go.
Yeah, like if I'm following, like if I'm in, like, because we
talked,
because we talked about like my vision so far this podcast, like my vision for what the sequel trilogy would have been, And this is what I'm seeing. I'm seeing a victorious Kylo Ren after an emotional battle with
Yeah.
Rey, who obviously, I would keep the love interest story there. I think that would be.
I think I kind of agree with that. I think that was. It was there, but it felt forced with what we got. If we had somebody else write it properly, it probably would have worked.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I mean, there's a lot to go off of here. A lot. And, you could, at that point, you can go in any direction. You could, kind of start off, with a rescue mission on the Jedi side or something along those lines to try to, kind of turn momentum. Because at this point, right, Kylo's going to this temple to find something to help finish the fight.
Yeah,
against the Resistance.
He's trying to figure out, how do I destroy not only the Resistance, but the Jedi and kind of the galaxy and break them to my will.
Because, I wouldn't have killed Luke off, so Luke would probably still be alive. So he has to worry about Luke, he has to worry about Rey, he has to worry about the entire Resistance, because, I mean, I would still include Starkiller base getting destroyed in episode 7. Because I think that was just it was different.
Because allowing it to survive longer just gives way too much power to them.
Oh, 100%.
Like,
100%.
way too much power.
The fact that thing was allowed to exist as long as it did was a tragedy.
Yeah, I mean, dude, it was able to blow up 7 planets in one shot, destroy the New Republic from a whole, galaxy away. It's kind of OP. You can't really let that happen. So
There's no defense against it.
Yeah, there's no defense other than blowing it up. And that's what they did. So I think,
which was still a meme in itself, by the way.
Yeah, my vision for the sequels is very different, so different. Kylo isn't even the main villain in this, in my headcanon, and what I would wanted to see. I think with after episode 7, I have a couple different versions of what I thought the sequels could have been. What I really want isn't what we got, isn't the characters we got. It uses some of them, but Kylo isn't there. But based off of Kylo being there, I have another separate version where he's a bad guy and another one where he's a good guy.
Mm-hmm.
And the version where he's a bad guy, this part is just so awesome. And I think here he can even show up and run into, or maybe this is where Snoke is, right? And this is where he's been operating the whole time. He's still alive. This is where he's been operating out of, or Plagueis in my headcanon.
Yeah, or it could be, a place where he trains the Knights of Ren in the future.
Or where because you never really get to see the Knights of Ren very much.
You see them for maybe a total of 10 minutes, and they get slaughtered by Kylo.
Yeah, and before that, you see them one time. And that's in her Force vision.
They should have been such a bigger part.
They should have, because as much as they talk about, the Knights of Ren, the leader of the Knights of Ren, but you see them one time, and it's in the last movie. It's dude, what? Why are these guys? Show why we fear them. That's another thing we talked about with not explaining why.
Yeah, this could have been a Sith temple that he trained the Knights of Ren at.
Yeah.
This could have been their base of operations, or it could have been. You could have done so much with this just one image. I could think of 10 different storylines.
Right, and that's what I don't understand. Is what are these guys who wrote this? They could not have been Star Wars fans, because you ask any Star Wars fan, you show them this image, and they can think of an entire movie or 3 based off of just this image.
Oh yeah, dude. I can give you a scenario where this is episode 7, the beginning of episode 7,
and episode 9,
episode 8 and episode 9. I can give you 3 different storylines.
Exactly, it's just so insane to me that this is not this was an actual legitimate concept art by the writers of the movies, and they didn't use it. How does that make any sense? I just don't get it.
I have to agree. It's honestly it's botched.
Piggybacking off of this image, we're gonna go to our next one, which this one, dude. Well, I have so much to unpack with this image. Let's just talk for a second about the missed opportunity with Rey. They missed an entirely huge opportunity with Rey having a double-bladed lightsaber.
So we're looking at here, right? We're looking at Rey with a double-bladed blue kyber crystal lightsaber. Okay. Then we have Kylo Ren still in his traditional gear,
still sporting his normal lightsaber.
Still sporting his mask, still sporting his normal lightsaber cape, his full Sith getup, and then they're fighting on a slanted platform in front of something. I can't tell.
I can't either. It
exactly
just looks like
what
some angular artwork on the wall or something. I don't
It-
know what
it
that
could
light is
be-
either.
It could be the Sith temple that we saw in the
exactly.
prior image.
It could be like the
You know,
backside of it, maybe.
Kind of keep that, kind of keep the episode 9 vibe where they had the final battle at the Sith temple, but instead of obviously Sidious, it's Kylo Ren.
Yeah,
And,
Kylo's the big bad, and make it that.
Kylo the big bad, and that's what this is right here. This is the final battle, episode 9. At least in my head canon, this is how it could have went, or one of the 10 storylines I've came up with since I've been sitting here
Yeah, looking at these images.
looking at these images.
But like, what bothers me the most about this image is like when you look at Rey in this image, you're like, that makes a lot of sense. Like her holding a double blade lightsaber with that pose, with the hair the way it is, the get up, it makes sense.
Yeah, she's on the attack.
Especially because the first time you see her in episode 7, she's sporting a staff and she beats the shit out of some of those vendors and the stormtroopers and even Finn with that staff. So she's shown to be proficient with a long, something as big as her staff. Why are you not taking advantage of that ability she has and giving her a double blade lightsaber?
And then let's talk about the the imagery from that episode. That's that one scene where you see her in the Force dyad wielding a red
double-bladed,
lightsaber,
exactly.
where she turned to the dark side of the Force.
Dude, that was like,
and I think it was just it was a beautiful concept, a beautiful opportunity,
a huge missed opportunity. Probably the biggest to me. That's one of the biggest ones they've missed in the sequel trilogy was giving her a double blade lightsaber, and showing her kind of training with it with somebody. Show me somebody who knows, dude. Even if you. Maybe even show her like Ahsoka training her and on how to use like that form of combat, because it's the same lightsaber form, the acrobatic, like same one Yoda used. Ahsoka used it. It was Form 4, I think. Form 4.
I think Darth Maul used the same form as well, right?
He used a combination of 4 and 7.
Yeah.
But it's like it's an acrobatic fighting style. So why would you not take that opportunity to teach them? I mean, Luke was a master of all the forms as well. He wasn't as spry as he was when he was younger, but you can still have him, show her, and he has all the Jedi text and all the holocrons, and a huge missed opportunity to show her being a complete badass with a double blade lightsaber.
Yeah, and this could have been, our Duel of the Fates for the sequel,
Or Battle of the Heroes.
Yeah,
whatever,
any one of those
the
epic
big ones.
lightsaber battles, yeah.
Yeah.
Instead, we got, Force Lightning and Kylo Ren beating up his old former Knights of Ren.
And then getting his ass handed to him.
Yes, and then turning into a Force ghost after being a Jedi for 5 seconds.
Yeah, I think here, the way this fight ends, I think she kind of beats his ass and, beats him in lightsaber combat. Finally kind of beats him, like, legitimately, finally, both fully trained, and she beats him. And then, right when he's like, I'm never going to turn, you're going to have to kill me, blah, blah, she kind of gives this, maybe a monologue of some kind. And, like you said, that love kind of thing. And then, boom, they kind of turn and they're, they're together at the end like they should have been.
I mean, you could go a whole different segment there
You
too.
can make her kill him. It doesn't even matter.
Right. Here's how if I were in your headcanon, right? Here's how this goes for me. Rey defeats him in combat, right? Gives the monologue that we talked about. Okay, right?
Yep.
And then she's converting him in air quotes here. If you guys can't see what my gesture to Jason, but so as he is going, oh yeah, I'll go to the light side, and Rey is distracted. He goes to grab his lightsaber to kill her with a sneak attack in typical Sith fashion, and then she just off with his head.
Dude,
you could have went that way.
You could have went so many ways. Like, there's just a plethora of incredible ways you could have went, and instead,
I mean, I'm a big fan of them kind of going off in the sunset and kind of restarting.
Yeah,
everything. That'd be kind of cool.
And kind of building the Jedi Order, and kind of Luke can be kind of proud of her. And be like, yeah, like, yes, kind of be proud of her and proud of him for coming back to the light.
Yeah, or you could
doing what Darth Vader did.
Or you could even take it full circle and give us an episode 1 kind of style lightsaber battle with Luke and Rey versus Kylo Ren. Kylo Ren takes down Luke. And then,
and then kind of she saves him, or maybe he kills Luke.
He kills. Yeah, no, he kills Luke 100%.
Straight up kills him.
Straight up
and then
kills
she
Luke,
kind of
and then-
uses that rage here to beat his ass.
Yep.
And
And
then,
then,
kind of does the Jedi thing and doesn't kill him, and says like, you might have killed my master, you might have killed Luke, you might have, killed your uncle,
Yeah,
But-
killed your
yeah,
uncle.
the Grandmaster of the Jedi might have killed him, but you still have love in you. I can still feel it. I can see it in you. You have that love in your heart, and you are able to be a better person. And they end up, walking off into the sunset together. He kind of gets rid of that, the robes and the mask and the red lightsaber.
I could just see a powerful image, him walking away, and all I see is his helmet drop to the ground.
Oh, dude, and you just see the and as they walk off,
Yep.
and then maybe right before the credits roll, Leia gives him her lightsaber, that gold, that rose gold.
You see the hilt lightsaber fall to the ground.
Dude,
The mask drop as they get into the Falcon.
dude, don't even.
You know?
You're making me salivate, man. This is so good.
Just burn that into my brain, please.
Dude, just so many good concepts, man. And then you could have ended off with this next image we're about to come up on.
Now this image is just extremely powerful.
This one, and going in our current headcanon that we're talking about, put Kylo right fucking next to her, dude. Put him right next to her, walking towards their new Jedi temple with BB-8 gunning at them. Maybe you get Luke as a Force ghost in the background, Leia as a Force ghost with him.
Anakin,
Anakin, fucking throw Obi up there.
Obi,
Give me
Yoda,
Yoda,
Qui-Gon,
give me everybody, dude.
Except for Mace Windu because he's still alive.
Yeah, he's still alive. Maybe
Still
not at this
alive.
point. He'll probably be dead, but
No, but yeah, he's probably dead by
you
now.
throw him up there, dude.
But
Give me
yeah,
Kanan, give me Ahsoka, give me everybody, man. And dude, it's just such a missed opportunity.
They're training the next,
Dude,
next
they
level
could be
Jedi.
training, Hera Syndulla's son, who would have been, I guess he would have already been like an adult by now. But he could have been a Padawan, you know what I mean? There's just so many great opportunities.
And then
Grogu, you could have put fucking Grogu here, dude. You
put
kidding
Grogu
me?
there
Could've
because
put
we don't
Grogu.
know how Grogu's stories end.
Grogu would have been 70 years old here, dude. Just
then,
a measly 70 for his
And then
for
as
his species.
as the screen fades out, Rey turns, sees she's pregnant. The next,
Yeah, it's like, okay, boom. You know what I mean?
it's exactly.
And
that,
you can
that-
end it off on a great note, and everybody's happy. They walk out of the theater cheering and screaming, and nobody hates the sequels like we hate them today.
and then Disney makes a movie about their kid.
Yeah, Disney has to pump the content.
Yeah, of course. Disney be like, well, there's an opportunity right there. Boom.
And I think that was something I saw on Twitter today. It's very true. Disney is so worried about content, specifically on that word content. They're not worried about story. They're worried about content, and there's a very big difference between the two.
Well, look at what they're doing now with the MCU.
Mhm.
Okay, I mean, I saw an interesting fact on Twitter the other day, and
It's probably the same one I saw.
Yeah, it's Marvel Phase 4 has over 100 hours of content.
I saw the same exact graphic you're talking about.
Whereas the build up to Endgame was only 55 hours.
Dude, it's like,
Phase 1, 2, and 3,
Have
55
less.
total hours.
yeah, there's
And
more
Phase
shows,
4 has over 100.
and there's 7 shows in Phase 4 and 6 movies. They've only started making shows 1 year ago.
Yep, you have Hawkeye, Miss Marvel, which I finished today. It was actually,
I finished that.
it's actually a really good show. Surprisingly,
WandaVision, Loki, What If.
WandaVision, Loki, What If. Loki was a great show. by
Loki
the
was a
way.
great show. Not that the shows are bad. It's just that
But
you're losing a
that's
lot
the
of
thing.
casuals.
They're putting out a ton of content because not every person's gonna want to watch Miss Marvel or gonna watch Loki or What If.
even
or
WandaVision.
WandaVision was tough for me to get into at first.
It was
Like
difficult
it
for a
was-
lot of people.
For me, because I was like, "What is going on?"
It's so confusing at the beginning.
Yeah, like I had to stomach 3 episodes before I realized what was going on, and I was
And
like, "Oh, okay."
It turned a lot of people off of Multiverse of Madness because they don't understand why Wanda is the way she is, and they're like, "Why is she so bad? Why this isn't how she was in Endgame? Why is she like this?"
Yeah,
and it's
and,
like
like,
because
the-
you didn't watch the show.
And Disney's
can't admit
forcing
it,
Disney's forcing you to watch these shows to understand everything.
And I think that's where they're going to lose their casuals. And I don't want them to do the same thing with Star Wars. I don't. I know it's going to happen. But, you can still enjoy 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 without watching Clone Wars, Solo, Rogue One.
Yeah, you can watch 1 through 9 and not have any understanding of the shows or
Yeah.
the outside
and they don't
solo
have
movies.
an impact.
Yeah, you can get away without watching Rogue One, but it'll make you appreciate Episode 4 more.
A lot more. You can
You don't have to watch Solo You won't understand. You don't have less appreciation. You have more appreciation of Han
Han
Solo and Chewbacca.
if you do.
You'll learn about the Crimson Dawn.
Yep.
And Darth Maul, his survival from Episode 1. If you didn't watch Clone Wars
Or Rebels. And if you want to watch more about why the clones turn in Episode 3 was so important, you watch Clone Wars, and boom,
100%, yeah.
And if you
because you learn that because at first as a filthy casual that I was before I watched the shows, I was just kind of like, oh, like they had no loyalty to the Jedi.
Yeah,
they just turned
they
and
never
shot.
did. Because in one movie it happens. It's like they get introduced at the end of Attack of the Clones, and then they kill them at the end of Episode 3. Like, what the fuck? What's going on?
Yeah, but then you realize in Clone Wars that they were programmed to
And
just turn.
Not only were they programmed, they were best friends. Like, Rex was best friends with Anakin, and Cody was best friends with Obi-Wan, and all of these Jedi were incredible friends with their
troops, with their squadrons,
and everybody. It was
and
just
and Clone Wars shows you that it wasn't optional. It was mandatory. It was a mandatory. You have to execute Order 66.
Yeah.
It was in your brain.
Yeah, and I just think that a lot of missed opportunities here with the difference of the way that Disney makes stuff to where George and Dave Filoni and Favreau make stuff is that they build story. They don't just put out content. The story is what's important, right? Getting it out isn't like I would take much less content if the story was better. Like if Obi-Wan was only 3 episodes an hour long each, which they was teased originally to be an hour 6 episodes, it wasn't. They were like 35 minutes, which was very disappointing to be honest.
Yeah.
Because like I thought we were getting 6 hours of Kenobi. This is incredible. We ended up getting like 3.5, and it's still great. I still enjoyed the show, but I would have loved to get 3 hours or 3 episodes, 1 hour long each, with a story that was just perfect.
Yeah, and it's just a lot of the content that you see. There's a lot more emphasis on these shows. Like if you didn't watch Rebels, and you go try to watch Andor coming out, or you're gonna have absolutely like no idea what's going on.
Yeah, because you won't know what Fulcrum is.
Nope.
You won't know
anything. Yeah, you're not gonna know anything. Any of the main characters they introduce or nothing. You're just gonna be like, what? Like, what is this?
Exactly, and it's hard. It's really hard, and I hope that Disney doesn't fuck it up.
Like, could you imagine watching Avengers Endgame
without watching
any Iron Man
solo
1,
movies?
Iron Man 2, Iron Man
Right.
3, the Avengers, Age of Ultron, any of that stuff? You just go, wow, oh, this poor guy died. Ha,
Dude,
ha,
like
ha, ha.
imagine like going through and like watching like the first like 2 phases, and then just like not watching anything after Age of Ultron. And then you watch Infinity War, you're like, how? What? You'd be lost. You'd be so. Why is Thor so sad? Oh, when did she die? When did he die? When did he die? Oh, when did he get Stormbreaker? You'd be like so fucking lost.
Oh yeah, dude, 100%. And that's why like watching this content is important. But as long as the content's meaningful.
As long as it's meaningful with good stories that has an impact on the overall story.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
It's not too much.
Like, do I need to know that Thor likes chimichangas?
Right.
No, I don't. But I found out anyway.
Right.
And
if it's a small little comedic bit, it's like okay. But in the sequels, they threw in so much stuff that wasn't necessary to the story. It didn't serve the story. Like that Rose plot with Finn didn't serve the story.
Yeah, just unedited story. Just like storyline just ended.
They just like they threw it in at the end of Episode 8.
They never saw it again in Episode 9. Never again.
You see it one time when they're running on the
for
ship,
10
and
seconds.
it's like why? Like what is this like?
And then he falls right back in love with Rey.
Yeah, and it's like it's so confusing and so like they try to do too much shit, and they didn't flesh the entire story out all at once.
Yeah,
and that's the total like problem I have with sequels is that it was like one at a time instead of let's build all 3 stories and then make them. And if they change over time, they change over time.
Which is why like I'm hoping that, in order for us to maybe appreciate the sequel trilogy more, they give us our own version of Rebels or Clone Wars or our own version of Rogue One for in between. Like we need content on that sequel trilogy and we're just not getting it.
Maybe in the future. We can hope, right?
Because think of all the projects they've going now. They've got Ahsoka, Endor, Mandalorian.
And let's not be. Ahsoka is literally, it's just Rebels season 5. it's what it's gonna be. It involves Thrawn,
Or maybe
and
even
Ezra.
maybe a little bit of Clone Wars as
Yeah,
well. Some
and it's gonna
flashbacks
be
to Clone
both.
Wars.
and she's gonna meet up with Rex again, and everybody's gonna
Yeah,
be
a
happy.
little Darth Vader action.
He'll be dead, but we'll see him in a flashback.
Of course.
He said I think he actually was like supposed to be in it, but that's time for another. That's topic for another day.
Yeah,
We
but
are
it's
nearing a long podcast here.
yeah, it's just like I want you guys to like, think back at some of the content, not the content you've seen, the content you watched, and compare it to what the sequel trilogy could have been. I want to see, in the comments below, please, I want to see some of your theories and what it, not even theories, but like, what it could have been, what it should have been, your ideas.
Yeah, I'll drop a like a response poll for you guys to report on, and I'm also gonna put a poll down there for which episode did you think was the best, 7, 8, or 9? So yeah, I mean that's pretty much it for today. Covered a lot of shit.
Yeah, all things sequel trilogy.
Literally all things sequel.
Future content,
Everything,
what it
again.
should have been, what we thought of it. There's a
man.
lot there, a lot for you guys to digest.
Yeah, so I mean, hopefully, if you didn't judge us at all, you come back and listen to it again. Check out our previous episodes if you haven't seen them about Kenobi, and
Everything.
the other
Star
one was
Wars.
everything else.
Yeah.
The other one was like everything Star Wars. But yeah, we will have
If you
more
have a long
podcasts coming soon.
drive, watch our first episode.
Yeah, it's an hour and a half, so definitely take your time with that. This one's nearing about the same time. But anyway, before we go too long, I hope you all enjoyed this. Shout us out on Twitter if you did enjoy it and you want to, give us a little thanks or anything like that, or leave us a message. Also, if you want to leave a voice message to be featured in our next episode, you can go ahead and leave a topic or your comments or your thoughts, and we'll respond to them and react to them and kind of talk about whatever you say. But yeah.
Yeah, definitely looking forward to hearing some of your comments, some of your theories. We'd love to talk about them here on the podcast. Me and him can brainstorm ideas forever, but we want to hear your ideas.
Yep.
What your thought
I want to
process
give
and what
you
your,
what
yeah,
you want.
exactly. I want to mention your crazy fanfic.
Yup, we do. We want to talk about it. But
give me content, please.
dude, thanks for coming back on, and I'm sure we'll be back here again at this table talking again.
Oh, of course. Anything and everything, but especially Star Wars.
Especially Star Wars. All right, guys. Thank you all for tuning in and listening, and we'll see you guys next time on the A&E podcast. Y'all have a good night. See ya.